the third one that we're going to talk about today is the ability of automation to automatically fix human errors, right? And I think that this workflow is such a favorite one of mine, because it is an IT process, and even though it's depicted, it looks fairly complicated, but not really. But in the real world, it touches so many systems. It's so complicated. It can take up so much time too. So just having automation be there for you is a big deal. Any thoughts before we jump into the demo there, Derek?
Yeah, definitely. Automated, self-healing or automated remediation is a huge part of what Resolve does for its customers. Yeah. And in this example here, we're going to be focusing on something of the human error aspect, which is a little bit of a unique kind of narrative. But this actually came from a real customer use case, or rather it was part of a much larger use case. But of course, unless all of you want to hang out here with me for the next 3 hours, we got to keep it a little brief. So let me, without further ado, get going on this one. So the scenario here, just to set the stage, is that there is an outage of some type of application hosted in Azure, and there's a huge playbook of things that the administrators or the SREs or the cloud operators, whoever they are, a huge playbook of things they would go and check on. Things like database health and connectivity, things like running services, or perhaps the existence of necessary firewall rules to actually allow inbound traffic to that web application. And in this particular customer example, they actually found that misconfigured firewall rules were playing a very inordinate role in some of their outages. But we came to the rescue with something we're going to look at here to show how we can actually self-correct those using Resolve. So I've actually got that workflow up on my screen here. We're not going to spend too much time. We've already looked at the workflow designer, but just wanted to highlight we're going to be using things like the pre-built integrations for Azure Compute, as well as the native ability to talk to Linux systems to do things like check on file systems, services, running processes, etc. But to actually kick this off, I'm going to first show you that I've got a healthy running web application here hosted in Resolve. And next, I'm going to show you as I cause a little mayhem by deleting this particular firewall rule here that's allowing inbound HTTP traffic. So now that I've deleted this rule, I am going to essentially, and taking this action, cause an alert to be generated inside of my monitoring tool. So for today's example, that monitoring tool is going to be Big Panda, which I'll switch to in a moment. But let's see if our rule has taken effect. Yep, I'm trying to refresh. Site can't be reached as expected. So let's switch over to the monitoring tool, where an alert is shortly going to show up to let us know that this particular outage has taken place. And spoiler alert, it was all my fault, and you are my witness. So here's our alert that's been generated. Once the alert exists inside of an external tool, really doesn't matter what monitoring tool you're using, it can be pushed proactively to Resolve, which just happened here. First, we got a link letting us know we can investigate this in the audit trail of Resolve for a live play-by-play, but also got a link to the ticket that was automatically created by Resolve. And this is where we're going to see a lot more useful information. So all of the things like the configuration item were dynamically linked to the alert ID, but down here in the work notes is where we're going to see the good stuff. So first, we want to do a simple ping check, right? Is the host online to begin with? If it's not, there's a good chance maybe the VM is just powered off or it has a virtual NIC configuration error. But since it's online, let's do a false positive check. We did that. We tried to do an HTTP GET, and it failed. We also saw that the Nginx web server service was stopped, so we started it up again. Maybe this will solve the problem. All of you know it won't. I deleted a firewall rule. After we do the service restart, that's letting us know another attempt is going to be made to reach back out, see if that solved the problem. And shortly here, we'll find out that it didn't solve the problem, right? Second one failed. So now we're going to take a look at those firewall rules. So it's actually going to use the Azure integration to show us our firewall rule table right here in our work notes. And we can see we've got inbound SSH there. We've got inbound ping through ICMP, but no inbound for our port 80 for HTTP. And in this case, it's letting us know, well, because of that, we're actually going to add it back. So let me go back to the Azure console that I had up a moment ago. I'll refresh my view here. And just like that, my rule has been restored. Now, depending on the cloud provider, sometimes this could take a while before it actually is reflected and takes effect here. But we've taken that into account, and the resolve workflow put a note here letting us know we're going to wait a whole minute before we check on this again, before we call it a solved problem or one that needs to be escalated to a human being. So usually within 30 seconds or so, there we go, it's back. Our web application is back up and running. Our ticket is going to be closed out and didn't involve any human interaction whatsoever. All of this was achieved through the workflow we see here, able to talk to Azure seamlessly with all of these pre-built activities and integrations and solve our human error problem just like that.